Have you ever been so angry that instead of shouting you started crying? That's not weakness. Your brain is doing something most people don't understand. People often think crying only happens when we're sad, so when tears show up during anger, frustration, arguments or stress, it can feel embarrassing. Maybe someone said, "Why are you crying?" It's not that serious. But here's the truth. Crying during anger is actually a very human psychological response, and in many cases, it reveals something deeper happening inside your mind and nervous system. In this video, we'll break down why anger can trigger tears, what your brain is doing in that moment, the hidden emotions underneath anger, and what crying during conflict says about you psychologically. Before we dive in, like this video and subscribe to Hidden Mind because by the end, you may never look at emotional tears the same way again. 1. Anger and sadness are connected. One of the biggest misconceptions about emotions is thinking they exist separately, but psychologically, emotions overlap. Anger and sadness are actually closely connected inside the brain. When you become angry, your nervous system becomes activated, your heart rate increases, your breathing changes, stress hormones rise. But if your brain feels emotionally overwhelmed at the same time, tears can appear almost instantly. This is because crying is one of the body's natural, emotional release systems. In simple terms, sometimes your brain reaches emotional overload and crying becomes the pressure valve. That's why many people cry during arguments, feeling misunderstood, being disrespected, not being listened to, feeling powerless. The anger is real, but underneath it, there's usually emotional pain too. 2. The real reason many people cry when angry. Here's something most people don't realize: a lot of anger is actually triggered hurt. Psychologists often describe anger as a secondary emotion. That means anger sometimes appears on the surface, while deeper emotions hide underneath it. Those deeper emotions can include rejection, shame, fear, disappointment, emotional neglect, feeling unimportant. For example, imagine someone constantly interrupts you while you're trying to explain yourself. You may look angry, externally, but internally, your brain may actually be experiencing, "I feel ignored. I feel unheard, I feel disrespected," and when those emotions become too intense, tears appear. Not because you're weak, but because your emotional system is overloaded. 3. Your brain goes into survival mode. When emotions become intense, the brain doesn't always respond logically. The amygdala, the emotional alarm center of the brain, becomes highly active during conflict or stress. Its job is survival. So during heated emotional moments, your brain can interpret emotional pain almost like physical danger. That's why during arguments, your thoughts become messy, your chest feels tight, your voice shakes and tears suddenly come out. Your nervous system is trying to regulate overwhelming emotion in real time. Crying can actually help reduce emotional tension by releasing stress chemicals and activating calming mechanisms in the body. In psychology, this is sometimes called emotional regulation through release. Your body is literally trying to calm itself down. 4. Why some people cry more than others. Not everyone cries when angry, and there are psychological reasons for that too. Some people were raised in environments where expressing anger felt unsafe. Maybe as a child you weren't allowed to speak up, your feelings were dismissed, conflict made you anxious, or you learned to suppress anger. So instead of outward aggression, your emotions turn inward, and tears become the safer emotional response. This is especially common in highly sensitive people. Empathetic personalities, people with unresolved emotional stress, individuals who avoid confrontation. Interestingly, some people cry because they're trying not to explode. The tears are holding back emotions they don't want to unleash. 5. Anger tears are often about powerlessness. One of the strongest psychological triggers for anger tears is helplessness. Think about moments where you can't express yourself properly. Someone twists your words, you feel trapped in a situation, or nobody understands your side. That feeling of emotional powerlessness can quickly trigger tears, because humans are emotionally wired to react strongly when they feel unheard, invalidated, or emotionally cornered. In many cases, the tears are not even about the current situation alone. The moment may be triggering old emotional wounds your brain remembers subconsciously. That's why small arguments can sometimes create unexpectedly strong emotional reactions. Your brain may be responding to years of accumulated emotional stress, not just one conversation. 6. Why people feel embarrassed after crying. After crying during anger, many people feel ashamed, especially in public, because society often associates emotional control with strength. but psychologically, emotional suppression is not the same as emotional strength. In fact, constantly suppressing emotions can increase stress, anxiety, emotional burnout, and even physical tension in the body. Crying does not automatically mean you're emotionally weak. Sometimes it means your nervous system has reached its emotional limit, and honestly, many emotionally intelligent people cry during intense frustration because they feel emotions deeply. The real issue is not the tears themselves, it's whether you understand what the tears are trying to communicate. 7. What to do when you cry during anger. If you often cry when angry, here are a few psychologically healthy things to remember. First, pause before forcing yourself to speak. Your brain needs a moment to regulate. Second, don't shame yourself for reacting emotionally. Self-judgment usually increases emotional overwhelm. Third, try identifying the deeper feeling underneath the anger. Ask yourself, am I hurt? Do I feel dismissed? Do I feel powerless? What exactly triggered me emotionally? This builds emotional awareness, and emotional awareness is one of the biggest signs of psychological maturity. Lastly, learn healthier emotional expression. Because bottling up emotions for too long often makes emotional reactions more intense later. So the next time you cry while angry, remember this. Your tears may not be weakness. They may be your mind's way of releasing emotional overload, protecting you from deeper stress, or expressing pain that words couldn't fully explain. Human emotions are complicated, and sometimes anger doesn't come out as shouting, sometimes it comes out as tears. If this video helped you understand yourself a little better, leave a comment saying, I thought I was the only one. And if you enjoy psychology and human behavior content like this, subscribe to Hidden Mind for more videos that explain the things people feel but rarely talk about. Because sometimes, understanding your mind changes the way you see yourself forever. Have you ever been so angry that instead of shouting you started crying?